Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. Now, excuse me. Dr. Fauci says that the pandemic exposed undeniable effects of racism. The immunologist, excuse me, tongue tied. Sorry, y'all. The immunologist who leads the COVID-19 response in the United States says Sunday that the undeniable effects of racism have led to unacceptable health disparities that especially hurt African Americans, Hispanics, and Native Americans during the pandemic. COVID-19 has shown a bright light on our own society's failings, Dr. Anthony Fauci said during a graduation ceremony for Emory University. Speaking by webcast from Washington, Fauci told the graduates in Atlanta that many members of minority groups work in essential jobs where they might be exposed to the coronavirus. He also said they are more likely to become infected if exposed because of medical conditions such as hyperextension, chronic lung disease, diabetes, or obesity. Now, very few of these comorbidities, have racial determinants, Fauci said. Almost all relate to the social determinants of health dating back to disadvantages conditions that some people of color find themselves in from birth regarding the availability of an adequate diet, access to health care, and the undeniable effects of racism in our own society. Oh, Dr. Fauci. Let's clap for Dr. Fauci, everybody. Dr. Fauci, man. Good job. Let me tell you something, Dr. Fauci. Where the hell have you been? Of course, it's racism. Of course it is. Why do you think that is, Dr. Fauci? You see, white people love to bring out something when it benefits them. Dr. Fauci's trying to get this vaccine rolling more and to help more of the people, they say. They're basically trying to help, especially those in a community which is poorish. But they never talk about that it's a lot more whites poor than blacks. And that's because you created a system, which is systematic racism, to control the population, which is to keep blacks at a certain cap. Only maybe one or two blacks, maybe three can get to that echelon, but you can't have more than that. It has to be at least 30% of the population that's black that can get in. You can't have it where it's 50, 60, or 70%. No, because then you'll be threatened by your white kids and their job security. That's all this is about. Dr. Fauci, you are what I call a part of the delusionists, or those who are, I say, illusionists. What I mean by illusionists is they want to come out and say, well, the disparities and the disadvantages of blacks over here, not being able to get the same treatment as, let's say, these rich white people. And during this pandemic, it's shown the racism. Bro, racism has been there before the pandemic. It's been there during the pandemic, and it's going to be there after the pandemic. But if you're so caring about it, Fauci, how about you stand against your own systematic racism? But they're not going to do that because you know why? They don't want to lose that white card. See, when white people lose that white card, it's trouble. They don't know what to do. They're basically caught between a rock and a hard place now. They want to step up and speak for blacks, but they don't want to receive the backlash from blacks like the blacks do. They don't want that. They want to have everything we have, the talent, the music, the athleticism, the work ethic. No, they want that. but they don't want the pain that comes with it. They don't want the transgressions that's against us every day. They don't want that. They don't want that at all. And see, that's the problem with our society. People are not equipped to take care of themselves in that fashion because you raise the food up. You're raising the food up, the pricing of food, the good foods. Not only that, you've taken a lot of the recreational centers and recreational places where kids used to go get away from the BS at home. Maybe their parents aren't getting along, or maybe they live in a single parent household. They want to go play some basketball or play in this park, but they can't do it. You know why? Because you got police there 24/7. Not only that, you've taken it out of those areas so they can resort to what they do now. Gang bang and kill one another and sell dope. So Dr. Fauci, if you ever want to actually tap into this, look into the big picture and stop being a pawn. Stop being an idiot, blinded by your own stop being a victim to your own ideology, which is, oh, well, the racism is showing. No, the racism has been there. White people, you just don't pay attention to it because it doesn't happen to you. See, white people don't want to start to talk about stuff until it affects them. When it affects them, they don't know what to do. They hide, they cry. But when it happens to somebody else, they should have just complied to the law. They should have just gave up when they never had nothing in the beginning to give up. There's some blacks who walk down the street, like I used to walk down the street going to play ball at the Lake Vista in St. Pete. A cop just come mess with me for no reason. And I'm like, dude, I'm finna go play basketball. Oh, we were just making sure. No, you weren't making sure. You were profiling. And that's why people like myself and others have a strict hate towards the police. And that's why we have a hate towards the government and the way the system is set up. And the problem is we need to put our own people who we rely on into positions that could better help us. See, it's no problem with voting or doing that. It's who you vote for. It's who you put in these positions. But let me ask you this, Dr. Fauci. Does the president control the country, or does other people control the country? The three branches control the country. The president has a board there, which makes decisions, and then he gets the final say for the executive branch. Then you have the legislative branch, which is the House of Representatives, the House of Congress, and all of that stuff. Then you have the judiciary system, which is the Supreme Court and all the laws that are being made daily to continue to keep black folks and others who are a minority who's poor down with a foot on their neck. And sometimes it's your own people who tries to keep you down just like them. Those are who we call the token people, or the coons, we like to call them. So, Dr. Fauci, you make sense in what you say, but to me it just sounds like a lot of naivety. Racism has always been there and it's going to be there. The problem with racism is you white people don't know you're racist and you're not willing to change. You're not willing to change. You gave us a month to say Black History Month. That's it. And then you trying to take that over by putting out your own history of blacks when that's a lie. Where you're not showing how you tortured us, where you killed us, where you raped our women and raped our men, and you cut their genitals off in front of the kids. You used to do these type of things. You burnt them at the stake. You would put burning crosses in their lawns. See, you don't want to face what you did. You don't want to face it. You guys want to live in blindness. You want to live in a room in your head that doesn't bring up those tranquilities that happen towards us. You don't want that, because you know if you have to speak about it, you know what it will do. It will make you look bad. White people do not like to look bad. They always want to look like they're good or they're the victim and all of this stuff. They want you to know, all you niggas, including me, that the white skin is rule supreme over this world, over this nation. That's what they want you to learn. But they don't want you to learn that blacks had the power before them and that we taught them what to do. We taught them how to set up their society. We taught them religion and all of these things. And we taught them science. We taught them real math, not this bullcrap math they're putting out, but we taught them how to architect, how to build things, how to engineer. But they don't want to give us that credit because you know why? A white man can't feel in his mind that he could give a black man credit. You saw what they did. Even, I know this is left field, but look what they did at the Hall of Fame. They made it seem like LeBron James made Kobe's career. Like it's because LeBron, him joking with LeBron, that showed you, see, LeBron had some help to Kobe. See, no, Kobe did his own thing. Stop putting a token Negro, or I like to call a token Negro, over there trying to put his hooks into somebody else's legacy because he's too soft and trash to build his own legacy. That's what they want you to see. They don't want you to see that he did it on his own. They want you to have in your mind that Kobe Bryant was nothing but a Robin to Shaq and that he didn't have a career, that he didn't do anything to help. He didn't do, you see how they painted him as being trash or something? They painted him as being a villain or a bad guy because he made a mistake. He was the squeaky clean guy who got caught. And then he was being destroyed for the rest of his career. He was being destroyed. He was being thrown to the wolves because they didn't want you to even have the idea that he was on Michael, if not better than Michael Jordan. So that was an example. You also had it where they were presenting the media, mainly white guys. Like, why? Because they want you to feel like they have the power to make or say who's great and who's not. When a lot of these media guys have never picked up a basketball, never played a day of their life. But you get upset with content creators like me or Carcino or others and say, well, you guys never played the game. Well, why are you listening to them if they never played? And nobody understands that there's an agenda. See, black people have been brainwashed for years and decades to follow what the tell-lie vision, like that guy on Cino's video on the Patreon, the tell-lie vision has told you. You believe this expert's going to tell you something when I've been telling you for years. They're nothing but biased fans. All these people are biased fans. All these people are living in a bubble. There's no more action anymore. Black people have become lazy and so predictable and so delegating instead of taking it on their own or taking it on the chin and fighting for something. We don't fight for nothing no more. But unless it's a PS5 or some Jordans, niggas gonna fight all day, right? That's the reality, Dr. Fauci. You don't live in these areas. You don't know what it's like to be black. You don't, just because you see it happening doesn't, it's a difference between seeing it happen. It's a difference between seeing it happen and experiencing it happening. You understand what I said? Let me say that again. It's a difference between seeing it happen as to experiencing it happening. Because when you experience it, it is a different feeling. But you guys wouldn't understand because you live in your own box. Like I said, white people are the spoiled kids of the family. They're the babies of the family. Black people are the firstborn of the family. You're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. Don't get no sympathy, no anything. You're the oldest. Go do what you're supposed to do. While the baby continues to be coddled, which is white people. Thank you for listening. We're out. Deezy.